Again, I do apologize about the delay. I was in the wrong Zoom meeting, so please forgive that oversight, but I will definitely get right started, and you will still be able to see all the information being provided, even though we're starting just a little bit after the hour. Before we get started, I do want to just talk about some general housekeeping items. The first one being that today's session is being recorded, and I will send you a copy to this link after today's session to have if you want to reference anything that was discussed, or if you had questions about what I shared and you want to reach out to me after, you'll have that opportunity to do so. The second thing being, I did mute everyone, and that's only just to allow everyone the opportunity to hear the information being provided. I will, however, allow time at the end of the session for a question and answer, at which point you can unmute yourself to ask any questions you may have. In the meantime, if you do have questions as I'm presenting the information, feel free to either use the chat feature where you can type in your question, and I will periodically pause during the presentation to address any questions there, or I'll address them at the end of the session. Lastly, I did just want to preface today's session. There will be a lot of information being covered, and I hope that it's not overwhelming. That's not our intent. However, it can be overwhelming when we're presenting so much information about our programs. So what I suggest is, if you can, just take in the information, just listen to what's being presented. We'll have opportunities at the end to ask questions, to clarify, to go back and go over any items. So at this point, just sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy what's being presented today. Before getting started, can everyone hear me? If you want to just either respond in the chat or give a thumbs up, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Excellent. Thank you all for responding. I do appreciate that. Okay, so let's get started. This is Cal Poly Pomona's teacher credential programs. And we know that you do have a lot of choices when considering credential programs. So we appreciate you being here today to check out what we have to offer. We think we have great programs, and I think you'll find that as well as we go through today's presentation. Now, before getting into the programs that we offer, I do want to offer all of you just kind of a broad overview of credentialing in the state of California. For those of you who aren't aware, the agency that oversees credentialing is the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. And the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing has outlined the 7 steps or requirements in order to become a teacher, and they're listed here on this screen. If you notice, the first item listed is complete a baccalaureate or higher degree from a regionally accredited college or university. Now, the CTC does not specify a particular bachelor's degree program for a credential. This means that you can major in any subject as long as it comes from a regionally accredited college or university, and you could pursue a teaching credential. Cal Poly Pomona's undergraduate degrees are regionally accredited. So you could major in art and pursue a teaching credential. You could major in early childhood studies and pursue a teaching credential. You could major in philosophy or psychology, sociology, and pursue a teaching credential. They don't specify a particular degree, so you can major in any subject area. The second and third items listed here are requirements that the state requires, and one is called the basic skills requirement, and I'll go over that in subsequent slides shortly. The third one is subject matter competency or competence. You'll need to have both of those met for the credential. Item number 4 is pass the Reading Instruction Competence Assessment, or RICA. Some of you may have heard of that. That particular exam is only required if you're pursuing a multiple subject or an education specialist credential. If you're pursuing a single subject credential, the RICA exam is not required of you. Item number 5 is complete a course in the provisions and principles of the U.S. Constitution. And there is a course during one's undergraduate studies that you could take, or you may have already taken, that fulfills the U.S. Constitution requirement. I have a list of California colleges and universities and the courses that meet the U.S. Constitution requirements. For those of you who graduate from a CSU campus, you'll meet the U.S. Constitution requirement upon graduation. So they've incorporated it into their undergraduate programs, so you satisfy the U.S. Constitution requirement. If you attend a UC or plan to go to either a UC or a private school, there could be a course that you could take during your time there that satisfies the U.S. Constitution requirement if you have not already satisfied it at your community college. Item number 6 is you'll need to complete a commission-approved teacher preparation program, and Cal Poly Pomona offers teacher preparation programs. And lastly, item number 7, you'll need to obtain a formal recommendation for the credential by your program sponsor, and that typically comes from the teacher preparation program that you complete. Once all 7 are completed, the state will review all of your items, and if everything looks good, they'll issue you your teaching credential. When considering credential programs or determining which credential program to pursue, you may want to ask yourself, what subject areas are you interested in teaching, as well as the age group of students or the population that you're interested in working with. On the screen here, these are the 3 credentials that Cal Poly Pomona offers. We offer a multiple subject teaching credential, a single subject teaching credential, and an education specialist credential. The multiple subject teaching credential allows the holder to teach multiple subjects in what's called self-contained classrooms, in preschool, K through 12, and in classes organized primarily for adults. Self-contained classrooms, for those of you who aren't aware or familiar, they're classrooms in which there's one teacher and you teach the same group of students all day, multiple subjects. So you'll teach math, reading, science, to the same group of 30 individuals or 20 individuals or however large the class is. The single subject credential authorizes the holder to teach a single subject in what's called departmentalized classes at preschool, K through 12, and in classes organized primarily for adults. Departmentalized classes are classes where you have one teacher and you teach a different group of students every hour or every period, similar to what you may have experienced at the middle school or high school level. And lastly, the education specialist credential authorizes the holder to teach the subject areas on their credential to students with either mild to moderate or moderate to severe disabilities, and that's in grades K through 12 and up to the age of 22. So you've noticed these credentials authorize you either K through 12 or preschool K through 12, but what determines where you teach is whether the classes are self-contained or departmentalized. If you're interested in teaching multiple subjects and the classes aren't self-contained, then unfortunately you wouldn't be able to teach at that grade level. So there's some specifications as far as where and how and what you can teach depending on credential. This next screen kind of just provides you an overview of how to get from where you are currently to a teacher in the classroom, which is the little schoolhouse at the end. You notice the first circle with books. That's for anyone who's currently at a community college and who's interested in becoming a teacher. Since you're at the community college, you'll want to continue with your studies and transfer to a four-year university where you can complete a bachelor's degree, which, if you remember, that's the first requirement that the state requires for a credential. If you're already at a four-year university, you're either a junior or senior, or even a freshman, sophomore, you'll want to continue with your undergraduate studies to complete a bachelor's degree. I listed here, if you notice, under the circle with the owl, to try and maintain an overall GPA of 2.67. That's the minimum required for admittance to a credential program at Cal Poly. If you've already completed your bachelor's degree, then at this point you'd be ready to apply to a credential program, and you'll want to review the program application requirements wherever you decide to apply. Once you are admitted to a credential program, you'll complete all coursework, as well as any additional requirements such as what's called teacher performance assessments, CPR certification, and the RECA if applicable to your credential program. Down here toward the bottom, once you have your teaching credential, you can apply for teaching positions at edjoin.org. This is a website that lists primarily teaching positions all across the state, and that's where you can submit your application for a position. And then lastly, once you're admitted, yay, congratulations, you are now the teacher in your own classroom. So again, just a broad overview of how to get from where you are now to being the teacher in your own classroom. If you recall from the first slide, there was 2 requirements that the state requires. One is called the subject matter competency requirement, and the state has outlined 2 ways to meet this requirement. One, you can take and pass an exam, the California Subject Examinations for Teachers, or CSET, and you'll take the CSET in the subject area of the credential you pursue. Or you can complete what's called a subject matter preparation program. Subject matter preparation programs are typically undergraduate programs that the commission has approved, and if you complete a commission-approved subject matter preparation program, that demonstrates to the state that you're competent in your subject area and you don't have to take the CSET. So there's 2 ways that you can meet or demonstrate to the state that you're competent in your subject area for your credential. On the right-hand side, for those of you who might be considering transferring to Cal Poly Pomona for your undergraduate degree, I did list the commission-approved programs that we have, and those include the agriculture undergraduate major, biology or biological sciences, chemistry, English, geosciences, mathematics, music, physical education, social science, and world languages, Spanish. So if you attend Cal Poly Pomona and you're majoring in any of these subjects listed here, and you complete the pre-credential track, as long as you have a minimum GPA required in those courses, which I believe is a 2.75, that demonstrates subject matter competency to the state, and you won't have to take the CSET. Now, if you are enrolled in these courses and you don't qualify for the CSET waiver, that's okay. You can still demonstrate to the state subject matter competency by taking the CSET. For those of you interested in either a multiple subject or education specialist credential, one way to demonstrate elementary subject matter competency is with the CSET or by completing a liberal studies undergraduate major. Our liberal studies major is not yet approved by the commission as a subject matter preparation program, but we are in the process of being reviewed, and we hope to get that approval soon. If approved, then for those of you who major in liberal studies at Cal Poly and complete the pre-credential track, you would demonstrate to the state subject matter competency, and you don't have to take the CSET. The other requirement that the state requires is what's called the basic skills requirement. And the basic skills requirement tests students on 3 subject areas: math, reading, and writing. The state has outlined 6 different methods of meeting the basic skills requirement, and they're listed here on the lower left-hand side of the screen. The first one is if you take the CBEST, California Basic Educational Skills Test. Some of you may have heard that. Or you can pass the multiple subject CSET plus the writing skills CSET, and passage of those 4 subtests demonstrate basic skills to the state. You can also demonstrate basic skills through the passage of the CSU Early Assessment Program or the CSU Placement Examinations. As long as you achieved what they call the qualifying score, then you could use that to demonstrate basic skills to the state. Or if you achieved a qualifying score on the SATs or ACTs, that can demonstrate basic skills to the state. Additionally, if you completed advanced placement exams, AP courses in high school for English and math, that could demonstrate basic skills to the state. Or if you passed a basic skills exam from another state. Now, I did mention qualifying scores, and there is a document from the commission that I'll send to you in the follow-up email that includes the qualifying scores for the 6 options listed at the left. Doesn't matter which option you use to satisfy basic skills, you just have to satisfy basic skills through one of the options. On this screen, I did want to just share with you the CSU eligibility requirements for transfer students. Transfer students must meet the minimum eligibility requirements listed below as the first step in being considered for admission. And at Cal Poly, we require all transfer students to complete the following by spring prior to fall enrollment, or by summer for spring enrollment. And they're listed here below next to each of these orange check marks. You must be in good academic standing at your last institution, must have a minimum 2.0 GPA in transferable coursework. You must have at least 60 transferable semester units or 90 quarter units, and 30 of those units must be in general education. Additionally, you must complete what they call the Golden Four. And the Golden Four are listed right here on the right-hand side. That's the oral communication requirement, the English composition requirement, critical thinking, and mathematics/quantitative reasoning. So for those of you who are currently at a community college, you're looking to transfer to Cal Poly or a CSU campus, this is what you'll want to focus on at the moment so that you're eligible for a transfer. Again, as far as anything that you can do currently, you'll just want to continue with your studies to transfer to a four-year university so that you can obtain a bachelor's degree, which is what the state requires for a credential. If you haven't yet determined on a major, you may want to think about that, and also think about what you're going to major in when you transfer to Cal Poly. Cal Poly does not offer an education undergraduate degree major or a teaching major, but we do offer a liberal studies major, early childhood, and then a variety of art, history, English. There's lots of degrees you can select from, but you can choose any of those once you transfer to Cal Poly for your bachelor's. Again, there's no particular bachelor's degree required for a credential, so you can select any subject area. If you do decide to select one of our programs that is approved for subject matter preparation, you might want to determine if you want to complete that program. If you decide not to, or your major doesn't have a pre-credential track, then you'll just have to plan to take the CSET. And CSET is required for admission to a credential program, so that's something you will need to complete during your undergraduate studies or prior to applying to a credential program. You'll also, if you want to and you're able to, maybe consider taking the CBEST. The CBEST doesn't expire, so once you pass it, you'll be able to apply it to a credential. The CSET does have expiration dates. It does expire 10 years from the date you take it if you don't apply it to a credential. And then lastly, you might just want to think about ways in which you might be able to work or interact with the youth in a TK through 12 setting. One of the requirements for admission to a CSU campus is early supervised field experience. Now, at the moment, because of COVID, there are some updates regarding that requirement, but by the time that you apply to a credential program, you might want to either be working on those hours or have them complete for admission. So that's just a broad overview. I hope you guys are all doing well, hanging in there. I'd now like to transition to our Cal Poly's credential programs. If you're not familiar with Cal Poly Pomona, we do have what's called a learn by doing approach. And what that means is in addition to the curriculum and the content that you'll get in the classroom or book knowledge, you'll also have opportunities with hands-on experience where you get to take what you're learning in the classroom and apply it in real-world situations. For credentialing programs, that means going into classrooms and being able to teach a lesson plan, being able to observe other teachers, being able to see classroom management. There's opportunities for you to not just get the book knowledge, but also hands-on experience. Additionally, you have faculty and staff that are wonderful and are ready and willing to assist you throughout your time in the program. And lastly, which can be important for some, which is completely understandable, is the cost. At Cal Poly, our tuition programs are affordable when you compare them to other private institutions or even the UC system. You'll find that our tuition costs are affordable, and we also have scholarship and financial aid available. So there's lots of ways to plan and strategize as far as how to fund your credential program. And one last thing I forgot to mention is we do have flexibility in our course offerings. For the credential program, we offer them in the mornings, afternoons, and evenings, with the majority of the classes offered in the evenings to accommodate the working student, as well as students who may already be in the classroom. All right, so let's dive in. For the credential programs at Cal Poly Pomona, we offer the following different types of programs, starting with the multiple subject credential. This is a 42-unit program that can be completed in 3 to 4 semesters. That's full-time attendance. We also offer a single subject program, and the single subject program is a 36-unit program that can also be completed in 3 to 4 semesters, full-time attendance. For the single subject credential program, we offer the following disciplines or subject areas for the single subject credential. And they're listed here on the screen. For the subject areas that have an asterisk next to them, that means that we have a commission-approved subject matter preparation program for that particular subject area. So when you transfer to Cal Poly, let's say for music, and you have the option of completing a pre-credential track for music and not having to take the CSET for the credential. If you see it on the screen, a subject area that you might be interested in teaching, but it's not listed, let's say, for example, business. Business is not listed here on the screen, and that's because Cal Poly Pomona does not offer business as a discipline for the single subject credential. If you are interested in a business single subject credential, you would have to pursue another university to complete that program, as Cal Poly Pomona does not offer that particular subject area. We also offer the education specialist credentials. We have 2 options, the mild to moderate credential, which is a 45-unit program, and the moderate to severe credential, which is a 48-unit program. Because there are more units, it does take a little bit longer to complete, and those can be completed in 4 to 5 semesters full-time attendance. I would like to mention that part-time attendance is available, but as far as the time frame that it takes to complete, it really just depends on the pace in which the student sets for themselves. So for example, a student may decide to spread out the credential units over 6 semesters, or 7 semesters, or 8 semesters, depending on their situation. So part-time attendance is available, but again, it just depends on the student and the pace in which they set for themselves. We also offer what's called an administrative services credential. An administrative services credential is a credential for current educators who are already who have been teaching in the classroom and are interested in becoming either a school site administrator, principal or vice principal, or even working at the district level. The administrative services credential is a 30-unit program, and it's completed over 3 semesters, summer, fall, and spring. We also offer what's called added authorizations. An added authorization is an authorization that you can add on to a multiple subject, single subject, or education specialist credential. These aren't standalone credential programs. You do have to complete a credential first or concurrently, and then you can add the following added authorizations if you so choose. We have an agriculture specialist added authorization. We have an adaptive physical education added authorization, and we also have a bilingual added authorization. And we offer that in Spanish and Chinese, Mandarin, or Cantonese. So when you're enrolled in a credential program and you want to also add an authorization, you can complete the requirements for the added authorization concurrently with your credential coursework, or you can complete the credential first and then come back to complete the requirements for the added authorization. In addition to credential programs, we also offer a combined credential and master's program. For the combined program, we offer a credential with a Master's of Arts in Education, and there's 3 options for the Master's of Arts in Education. We have a curriculum and instruction emphasis, we have a special education emphasis, and we also have an educational leadership emphasis. All 3 of those emphasis are 30-unit programs. And if you notice, there's an asterisk next to the Educational Leadership Masters. That's because it requires the completion of the Administrative Services credential in order to complete that credential program. In order to complete that master's program. Now, the way the combined program at Cal Poly is structured is you first apply to a credential program, and then in the semester where you complete clinical practice, you'll submit a request to add the master's. Clinical practice always occurs in your last semester of credential coursework. So even though you wait to submit the request to add the master's until your last semester of credential coursework, you can actually begin taking master's courses once admitted to a credential program. Additionally, if you complete your credential here at Cal Poly, you're eligible to transfer up to 9 units or 3 courses, up to 3 courses of your credential coursework towards the master's. And that's determined when you meet with the master's advisor. They will look at your credential coursework and they'll let you know which courses are eligible to be transferred to the master's. As an example, if the master's advisor says we're going to take 3 of your credential courses, a total of 9 units, 9 units from the 30-unit master program leaves you with 21 units to complete the master's. One thing you do want to keep in mind is that students must complete the credential in order to earn the master's, and you must maintain a B or higher in order for the course to be eligible to be transferred to the master's. So that's one thing you want to try and maintain your credential courses at least a B or higher so that it could be eligible to be transferred towards the master's. We also offer what's called a teacher intern program. Now, the teacher intern program is one way that you can complete the credential. The other way is what we call the standard route. For the standard route and the teacher intern route, coursework and exam requirements are the same. Nothing is different. The difference between the teacher intern route and the standard route is the way in which you complete clinical practice. So for the standard route, students will complete all coursework first, and you'll complete your clinical practice in your last semester of the program. Our Office of Clinical Practice will place you in a classroom with one of the 40 districts that we work with, and you will work with a host teacher throughout the entire semester for clinical practice. For the teacher intern route, you are fulfilling clinical practice requirements as the teacher of record in a classroom. Now, Cal Poly Pomona does not assist students in finding an internship, but you can seek them out on your own. So if you already are at a district, let's say as a teacher's aide, and they mention to you that they're looking to hire someone to teach English, and you're enrolled at Cal Poly Pomona in a credential program, and English is the credential you're seeking, you might be eligible for the intern credential, and the district will hire you because of the intern credential. Because an intern credential basically tells the district that you're enrolled in a credential program and you're working on completing the requirements for the credential. Anyone who doesn't have an intern credential, they may not have even started a coursework. They may just be looking to change careers or are not yet ready to be full-time in the classroom. So that's one of the benefits of having an intern credential. And there are intern eligibility requirements that if you'd like more information on that, you can send me an email and I will provide you with more specific detailed information about the teacher intern route. All right, I am going to pause before going over into our admitting terms. Does anyone at this point have any questions? No? Okay. Well, great. Let's continue. When it comes time for you to apply to a credential program, now remember, the credential programs at Cal Poly require a bachelor's degree for admittance. So if you're looking to transfer to Cal Poly, that's great. You're going to apply as a transfer student, but that's different from when you apply to a credential program. Students will typically apply to a credential program at the end of your junior year or the beginning of your senior year. So you'll first have to apply to transfer to wherever you go for your bachelor's degree, and then you'll submit another application when you're ready to apply to a credential program. Cal Poly has 3 admitting terms for a credential. We have a spring start, a summer start, and a fall start. Now, when you apply to a credential program, it is a two-step process. You'll submit an application to the university through Cal State Apply, and then you'll submit a program application, which is an online application submitted through our Credential Programs page. Both applications are required for admission. If you complete one but not the other, they'll consider your application incomplete, and incomplete applications are denied. Now, each of our admitting terms has a different application deadline. So depending on when you're ready to apply to the program, you'll want to make sure you submit both of those applications by the deadline of the term that you apply for. This next slide goes over all of the application requirements for a credential program. Now, since most of you are at the community college now and will work on your transfer application first, I'm not going to go into detail over these particular application requirements because I want you to focus on your transfer application first. You'll need to do that first before applying to a credential program. However, if any of you are already done with your bachelor's and you're ready to apply to a credential program, send me an email and I will be happy to schedule a time to go over these application requirements in detail. My purpose in including this slide in today's presentation is just to make you aware that there is an application requirement when applying to a credential program. And these are listed on our website. If you are considering another campus for your credential program, you'll want to check with that particular campus for their application requirements, as they may be different. One thing I do want to mention to those of you who are considering coming to Cal Poly Pomona for your undergraduate degree, one of the benefits of doing so is that you can actually begin taking credential coursework in your undergraduate studies. So students with junior or senior standing can take these 4 credential foundation courses, depending on which program you're pursuing. So if you're interested in a multiple subject credential to teach at the elementary level, these 4 credential courses you can take as long as you have junior or senior standing. If you're interested in a single subject credential, you'll take these 4 classes listed here in the middle of the table. And for the education specialist candidates, you can take these 4 classes. You're not required to, they're not prerequisites, but you can decide to take them if you so choose. One of the benefits of taking these early is that it shortens the number of semesters after you finish your bachelor's that you'll need to complete the credential. So it's kind of like you get a head start. Okay, so I think that's all of the information I wanted to share with you. I do want to transition now to our question and answer portion. Some of you did submit some questions when you RSVP'd to today's session, and I'd like to address those questions first, and then I'll open up to a general question and answer session. So one of the questions submitted was, do I need a multiple subject credential to be an education specialist teacher? And the answer to that question is no. To be a special education teacher, you will need an education specialist credential. So, and you can decide between 2 credentials here at Cal Poly, either mild to moderate or moderate to severe. Another question submitted was, what is the pathway for a bilingual authorization and a multiple subject teaching credential? If you recall from some of the previous slides earlier, you'll complete a multiple subject credential and then complete the bilingual added authorization. You do have to complete the credential in order to add the authorization. You can't just go for the added authorization because you need a credential first. However, you can complete the bilingual added authorization concurrently with your credential coursework, or you can complete your credential first and then come back to complete the added authorization requirements. Another question that was submitted is, what is the fastest route to obtain a teaching credential with my current education? Bachelor of Science in Evolutionary Biology. I would like to be a math or biology teacher. To be a math or biology teacher, you'll need to complete a single subject credential. And at Cal Poly, we have the 36-unit single subject credential program that can be completed in 3 to 4 semesters, full-time attendance. Because you already have a bachelor's degree, you are actually ready to begin applying to a credential program. So you'll want to review credential and application requirements. Feel free, if you submitted this question, feel free to email me and we could set up a time to discuss the credential application requirements. And I think this is our last question that was submitted. I would like to be a preschool teacher. What program would I take at Cal Poly Pomona and how long would it take? So to teach preschool, you can do that with a multiple subject credential. Our multiple subject credential is a 42-unit program, and that can be completed in 3 to 4 semesters, full-time attendance. Now the credential, the multiple subject credential is after you complete your bachelor's degree. So you will need to do that first, and depending on what subject area you want to major in, you'll decide that, and then once you're ready to apply to a credential program, you'll do so. Yes, so if you have additional questions, feel free to unmute yourself and I will address any questions or clarify anything that was presented. In the meantime, I just wanted to mention, I do have a resource slide with links to all of our programs, as well as scholarships, tuition and fees, our teacher intern program, as well as our master degree programs.
Hi, my name is Brian Anthony Ortiz. I'm from Mount San Antonio. I came late to the Zoom meeting from work, and halfway I came when you were talking about that I need to have the CSET already taken in order to qualify for the credential program. Is that correct, or to be a part of it?
Yes, so at Cal Poly Pomona, we do require passage of the CBEST and CSET to be submitted with your program application by the deadline of the term that you apply for.
Okay.
Now, currently, because of COVID, there are some updates because students are having difficulty taking the exams. Some of the testing centers are not open, as well as there's not as many seats available to take the exams because of social distancing. So the department is making adjustments as needed. Hopefully, by the time you apply to a credential program, we are beyond COVID. But I always tell students, if you don't yet have those exams passed, reach out to the program that you're interested in applying to and ask them if there's any updates. And they might provide you with such updates as, if you don't yet have passing scores, go ahead and apply without them, but you'll need to submit them by a certain date. So I wouldn't let that deter you from applying. I would just reach out to the program and ask if they have any exceptions or updates for those requirements.
Okay. And then for the, could you explain a little bit further about the authorization topic? I don't really know much about that, actually.
The added authorization?
Yeah.
So the added authorizations, it's an authorization that you can add to either a multiple subject, single subject, or education specialist credential. So you do need to complete a credential program in order to add an authorization to it.
Got it.
Now at Cal Poly, we have added authorizations in agriculture specialists, adaptive physical education, and bilingual added authorization. And that can be done in either Spanish or Chinese.
Okay.
Now, the requirements that you need to fulfill for the added authorization can be completed either concurrently with your credential coursework, or you can complete those requirements after you complete your credential. It's up to you on which way you decide to do it.
Okay. All right, that was my last question. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Any other questions?
Hi.
Hi,
My
Lauren.
name is Lauren. I had a question. So I applied to Cal Poly Pomona for my bachelor's degree for fall 2021.
Okay.
And I applied, like, I think it was the liberal studies, like mild to mod, like the program or degree, or yeah, I'm not sure, but would that be the same as like the multiple subject, or like would that help me get my multiple subject credential?
So again, because the CTC, or California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, doesn't specify a particular degree for your bachelor's degree, you can major in liberal studies and pursue a multiple subject teaching credential. Now, one of the benefits of enrolling in liberal studies is it helps students prepare for the CSET. So there's courses in our liberal studies undergraduate major that help prepare you to take the multiple subject CSET.
Okay.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're not yet approved by the commission for as our liberal studies program for subject matter preparation. But if the commission approves us, let's say they approve us in spring of 2021, then if you enroll in the liberal studies program and complete the pre-credential track, then you won't have to take the CSET because you completed our program.
Okay. I also had a question. So I know at Long Beach, they have like the ITEP program. So it's like you get your bachelor's and then your multiple subject credential like together kind of. Do you guys have that same program?
We do have an integrated teacher education program, but it's only combined with the education specialist credential. It's not combined with a multiple subject credential.
So that's like like a completely different credential than a multiple.
Not necessarily a completely different credential. Well, the education specialist credentials are different from a multiple subject credential.
Okay.
If you complete an education specialist credential, it'll allow you to teach students with disabilities. So either mild to moderate or moderate to severe.
But would that work in both? Like, so would I only be able to work in like with special education students, or would I also be able to work in like a regular classroom?
The education specialist credential only allows you to work with special education students. It does not allow you to teach general education.
Okay.
If you're interested in teaching general education at the elementary level, then you would want to pursue a multiple subject teaching credential.
Okay.
Now, going back to your question about the ITEP program, if you are interested in the education specialist credential, you could apply to our integrated program and complete either a liberal studies undergraduate degree with the education specialist, and you'd have your credential and your bachelor's degree in 4 years.
Okay. I think that's the program that I applied to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you interested in the education specialist credential, or do you prefer the multiple subject credential?
I'm kind of in between both.
Okay.
So I'm not completely sure yet, but
okay.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I would like to mention, once you complete an initial credential, you could always add additional credentials.
Okay.
So for example, if you completed the education specialist credential and then you wanted to add a multiple subject credential, you could do that. It's going to require coursework and another round of clinical practice or student teaching, but you do have that option.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I did mention earlier, for those of you, if you wanted to email me with questions, I'm providing my contact information here on the screen. You can either call me by phone, you can email me. If you prefer more of a face-to-face interaction, we can do a Zoom meeting. I know it's not the same as meeting in person, but I think it's the second best thing given our situation with COVID. So I'll have that there on the screen for you. We are getting close to the hour, so I did want to just put this up here, and I'll still be available for questions, but for those of you who might not know, we do have a general session as part of the Teach for LA virtual workshop series. It's next Friday, November 20th. It's from 11, I believe, till 12:30, and registration is required for that. So if you haven't yet signed up for that and you are interested, please be sure to do that. Additionally, you will want to also complete the survey after each of these sessions. It just helps future Teach for LA events as we plan and organize things. I will include that in the chat if you don't yet have that link. So I will provide that to you. But if you do have any other questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and let me know. I also want to mention that I can provide a certificate of participation for today's session if you need it. If so, you can let me know in the chat, but I will be sending that to you at the end of today's session. Since we are getting near the 5 o'clock hour, if I don't yet get to the email by today, please know that the email, I'll send that to you tomorrow morning as soon as I'm able to. Sometimes it's just hard at the end of the day to get that out.
Sorry, excuse me?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, it's not really a question, but more like, I don't know if you'll be able to share your screen again.
Okay.
One of the slides, towards the beginning, I saw that you had multiple steps of how getting to become a teacher for a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you could put it back because I didn't really read all the information on there.
Sure, was that the infographic with the kind of like the pathway to get there?
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull that up for you. Okay, so let's see if I can get there. Here we go. So this screen, correct?
Yes, thank you.
So on this screen, this is just a broad overview of how to get from where you are currently to a teacher in the classroom. So this first circle at the top of the slide is if you're currently at a community college, what you'll want to be, your first goal will be to complete the requirements to transfer to a four-year university so that you can complete your bachelor's degree, which is what's required to be admitted to a credential program. With the exception of the integrated program. If you plan to apply to an integrated program, it's a little bit different. And if that's the case for you, let me know, and I could share with you the steps for the integrated program a little bit differently. If you already are at a four-year in university and you're working on your bachelor's, you want to continue with your studies and try and maintain an overall GPA of 2.67. That's the minimum required for admission to a credential program at Cal Poly. Once you finish with your bachelor's and if you're ready to apply to a credential program, then you'll want to review the application requirements at the university of where you plan to attend for your credential program and make sure you submit the application by the application deadlines. Once admitted to a credential program and now you're enrolled, which is this kind of in the middle portion of the slide, you'll want to complete the requirements for the credential. That includes coursework as well as clinical practice or student teaching and what's called teaching performance assessments. That's for the single subject and multiple subject program, as well as CPR certification and the RECA. The RECA is only required for the education specialist and multiple subject credential programs. We curve around on this last part. Once you have your teaching credential, you're then ready to apply for teaching positions, and you can do that through edjoin.org. And then once you're hired, yay, you can celebrate, you did it, and you are now your own teacher in your own classroom. Was there anything on this particular slide that you had questions on?
No, it was just like I didn't really finish reading the whole information, so I just wanted to review it again.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will send you a link to the PowerPoint presentation. So you will have this if you didn't get to read everything that was on any of my slides. And then if you have any questions, you can always email me and I'm happy to clarify for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just going to check the time. It is getting close to 5. For those of you who may need to step away, if you have other commitments or class, feel free to do so. As I mentioned, I will be sending you all a follow-up email with the link to the recording for today's session, as well as the PowerPoint presentation. And I want to thank you all for attending today. It's been my pleasure to provide you information about our credential programs, as well as an overview of credentialing in the state of California. I do hope that you all are healthy, you stay safe, and we do look forward to receiving your application. should you decide to apply to Cal Poly Pomona. I do see a question from Jeremy asking, what type of support is provided for students when attending Cal Poly Pomona? Jeremy, just to clarify, are you asking, financial support? Are you asking academic support? What type of support are you asking or inquiring about? Academics. Usually, depending on your program, so if you apply for a bachelor's degree, there is usually a faculty advisor that will advise you for your coursework. So, they'll go over the requirements for your major, they'll assist you with enrollment. For those newly admitted to Cal Poly Pomona, we have an orientation session that you'll attend, and they'll answer and address any questions you might have. And then throughout your program, if you have any questions about your plan for your major as far as coursework, or if you need to adjust your schedule, maybe you are now working full-time, whereas when you first came in, you were only working part-time, and you need to make adjustments to your schedule, there's a faculty advisor that will assist you with those adjustments and advising. We also have peer advisors. Well, in the College of Education Integrative Studies, we have peer advisors as well, students who are in the same major as you that might be able to help you with questions you have about certain courses. So that's also available to students. Well, I think that's it. Was there any other type of support you were inquiring about as far as academics? Okay, I'm checking the chat. I don't yet. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that.
I also have another question, actually.
Sure.
Is there any like workshops or programs you guys have for teachers where, they're taking their bachelor's degree and they want to take the CSET or the CBEST, and they go to you guys to prepare for these exams? Or I was just wondering if that kind of program exists or offered.
Sure. Great question, Brian. Unfortunately, Cal Poly Pomona does not offer test preparation for the CBEST nor the CSET. However, there are some community colleges that do. For example, Mount SAC offers CBEST test preparation. And Citrus College also offers CBEST test preparation, but I believe specifically for the math portion of the CBEST. And I think both of those are free workshops. So you might want to check out both Mount SAC. The Teacher Preparation Institute should have more information about CSET test preparation. And then at Citrus, their website, you can access information on the types of test preparation available. You can also check just private agencies that offer test prep. You can Google test prep for CBEST or test prep for CSET, and lots of organizations will pop up. Some of them charge fees, so you might want to take a look at that. And then also they might offer test preparation through various modes, meaning it could be in person. Well, given COVID, I think they've all transitioned to online, but they could also be online modules. So feel free to check those out. The other thing you can do, and let me just, let me take you to, I want to take you to the website where you go to register for those exams. This particular website has test preparation available. And I usually tell students to start here because it has sample test questions that are helpful in determining whether you need additional test preparation. So the website where you go to register for these exams is the California Educator Credentialing Assessments website. And it's listed here up top, ctcexams.nesinc.com. Because of COVID, they've got this brownish box with some updates, so you might want to review that at your convenience. But if you scroll down, you'll see a picture. Just below the picture, you'll see a drop-down menu, and you can click on the particular test you're interested in learning more about. In this case, we're going to select the CBEST as an example. It'll take you to the screen which provides information about the CBEST, including the sections or subtest areas, I apologize, that they're going to test you on, math, reading, and writing. They'll also include the number of multiple choice questions per subtest and the number of essays required. If you scroll further down, it'll give you information on the computer-based testing as well as paper-based testing. They'll give you the lengths of testing. They'll include fees, passing scores, test results, etc. Everything you need to know about the CBEST is here. If you go back up to the top in this light bluish area, underneath or the first subsection, you'll see a heading Preparation Materials. If you click on there, then you can access PDFs with sample test questions. So for example, I selected math, and if you scroll down, let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. If you scroll down, they provide you with an answer sheet, so you could use this to take a practice test, and then they give you sample questions. And you could take a look at the sample questions or even do the entire sample test, and you could, at the end, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, they give you the answers. So you'll know, oh, I took the sample test, I got an 85%. I think I'm ready to take the CBEST math. Or, you know what, I didn't do so well on math, and I think I need to do some studying. Then you know which areas you might need to freshen up on so that you're ready to take the CBEST. And it provides it for the math section, sample test questions, the writing section, sample essays. You can also take a look at the CSET. You need to take the CSET. This is a great website to start, and then you can determine if you need additional preparation. Any other questions? If you have no other questions, again, thank you for joining today's session. That's all I have for you all today. So I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and just be on the lookout for that email that I'll send to you with the links to the recording, the PowerPoint, and I also have some additional resources that I'll send to you all. Well, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure to present to you today. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Professor. Truly appreciate it.
No, you're very welcome. Hope you have a good rest of your evening.